Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to Wolfinia. This is episode 292 of my Minecraft survival series, and lately, we've been doing a lot of work around our city, renovating some of our old builds. Look at Sawyer right there. And I was intending to do more of that this episode, but it is that spooky time of year, so I was thinking we'd do something spooky instead. So if you've been around a while, you probably know that we have some interdimensional beings wreaking a little bit of havoc on our world here. And I guess we mostly have the apostates to thank for that. And unfortunately, in this episode today, the corruption that these beings bring to our world is going to spread a little bit. I mean, if we come over here to Wolfins' laboratory, you can see that the ground is kind of breaking up and we can see some of that corruption beginning to peek through. But this is only the tip of the iceberg. Now, we do need to see what the extent of the damage really is. So what I'm going to do is take a little while and expose some of it to the world, to you guys, and to me. We're all going to get exposed to the corruption today. That sounds like a fun way to kick off the episode, doesn't it? Just look at all that. Look at it all. That's disgusting. You can see just how much of this corruption is lurking beneath the grounds of Wolfins' lab specifically. Oh yeah, Mr. Wolfins is not going to be happy when he hears about this. And I mean, we just spent a little bit of time exposing some of the corruption here beneath a couple little areas. We're probably going to have to come back here a little bit later in the episode and excavate some more. See what the true extent of the damage really is. I'll tell you what might make Mr. Wolfins a little bit happier, though. You see, a lot of this corruption consists of this block right here, Sculk. If we can find some way to make this work for us, that might be beneficial. So the big project for this episode is going to be a Sculk farm. Now, the best place to build a Sculk farm is probably going to be in the end. So, if we're going to be building a Sculk farm in the end, we're probably going to want to attract Endermen because they are what's going to provide us with the Sculk. So we're going to use these ender pearls here to get an endermite to attract the enderman. Now, since we're getting the endermite from the ender pearls, I think a suitable name for it is probably Pearl, right? Makes sense? I know, it's super inspired. To be honest though, I just couldn't think of a good Halloween themed name for it. Now, a lot of you probably thought I would be doing something a different dimension, but you probably thought I'd be doing something here in the Nether. Maybe repairing the madhouse, all this damage the apostates caused. And I will get around to this eventually. I will. But we've got more pressing matters to take care of here in the end. And yes, we do already have an Enderman farm over there. We're going to be building another one today, and that's going to be our first order of business. I guess the main question we got to ask is where exactly do we want to put this thing? Let's just see. We're going to do something with the end, by the way. We're going to eventually dress this place up. But as of now, I think maybe over here would probably be a good spot for the thingy. Listen, you don't want to do that. Really, you don't. Trust me. That's a bad idea for the both of us. Crap. Yeah, I'm just going to hang out here for a few minutes, maybe count my supplies. You're going to hang out there. That's fine. We both got business to handle. Stop it! Leave me alone! Okay, so now that that's settled, I'm going to keep my head down, and we're going to go ahead and start making our way to the work site. Now we're going to kind of go out to the right here once we're centered on like the end portal, which is in there. So we'll go ahead and start making our way this way and go out to today's work site. Now, this is going to be a fairly tall build. I have spent some time trying to figure out how exactly I want to do this, and I do have a pretty good idea at this point. And as I said, it's going to be tall. So what I want to do then is go down a little bit lower before we start bridging out. That way, it's not too high up in the air. All right, let's go ahead and start bridging out to the work site. And I'm going to use these half blocks that we don't have to worry about Enderman trying to teleport and knock us off of this thing. But basically, we do want to go out far enough that we don't have Enderman spawning on the main island here once we start getting the farm up and running. So the first step in building our Sculk farm is, as I said, to build the Enderman farm. Now, since we've built an Enderman farm here before, we know how it goes. We're going to do the same thing to this one, except for we're going to drop them far enough to take them out. That's the plan. That's step one. Let's go ahead and call the drone on over here, put on a little bit of music, and get to work on it. Welcome back, everybody. So, at this point, we do have our Enderman farm built. We have our spawn platform up here. This is where the Enderman spawn. There is where Pearl will be. The Enderman will be trying to get Pearl as soon as we start taking out these torches. So, if we're ready, and I think we are, let's go ahead and get some Enderman spawning. Ah, there we go. There we go. Perfect. And you can't get Pearl. You can try all you want, but you'll never do it. Ow. Kind of hurt. Anyway, let's go ahead and make our way down here. You can see where the Enderman, the splat platform right here, takes them all out. Now, of course, we are going to want to do something with all these Ender Pearls, because I don't want them. So, what we're going to end up doing with all these Ender Pearls, and I'm kind of shouting right now, I'll lower the volume of these guys for you, but we're going to have an Ender Pearl disposal system here that's going to take all these Ender Pearls and kind of just chuck them all out into the void because I don't want them. We got all the Ender Pearls we'll need from that farm right there, so we can get rid of all this nonsense. So something like this is all we're going to need. We can throw a little bit of water right back here, and that should shoot all our Ender Pearls off the edge. So once this starts to back up with Ender Pearls, stop it. I don't want them. That's the whole point of this. I don't want them. There we go. That's more like it. But now it is time to start farming Sculk. So we got our catalyst down right here. So when our Endermen fall and go kerplunk, that's going to convert this stone into Sculk. Now, we don't necessarily want that Sculk stuff spreading to all the other stuff around here. We only want it where we want it, right? So I'm going to be very careful to prevent the spread of this stuff. Now, I don't know what the best way is to skulk-proof an area. You guys know I don't do nearly enough research to justify actually building a farm. But, you know what? This should work, okay? So now we got our stone platform sealed off, and we will be constantly regenerating stone to this platform from stone generators we're going to have at the back here. So that'll keep pushing stone forward, and we'll keep converting into Sculk. I guess, let's get an idea of what this should look like. Crap, I'm missing it, and my tardiness is making you miss it. Okay, we're gonna catch some of it. There we go. Yes. Look at that. Oh, Mr. Wolfins is gonna love this. Now, we don't want our ender pearls to get caught up here like this. We don't want the ender pearls to get stuck on top of shriekers and on top of our skulk sensors. We're gonna go ahead and strategically remove these ones and replace them in a way that should prevent them from spawning where we don't want them to spawn. So something like this should accomplish what we want to accomplish here. Or I guess not. Let's see if we can straighten out our Enderman's trajectory to get an idea of how this is going to be. And I'm also going to put skulk sensors around the edges here in like these spots right here once I actually get some. And that should hopefully keep all our ender pearls in a collectible area so that way we can actually get rid of them. Let's just hang out here for a second and make sure everything lands in this center area where it can actually be collected. So far though, we seem to be looking pretty good. At this point, I guess we can go ahead and start building out the rest of the farm. So, if we're going to be pushing our platform out this way, we're going to need our stone generator over here in the back. It'll be pushing this way, which means our harvesting platform will be over here somewhere. And we can harvest all this skulk without having to mess with any of this stuff, right? So we should be able to harvest skulk here, sensors, shriekers, veins, all that nonsense. Now, we've built stone generators in the past for like our moss farm, stuff like that, so you guys know how this goes. At this point, let's go ahead and call the drone on over here, put on a little bit of music, and get to work. Welcome back, everybody. At this point, we do have a working skulk farm. And I even built out the room that we'll be harvesting from. We're not going to worry too much more about the aesthetics today. Keyword today. Eventually, though, we will come back here. We will kind of build out this place and close all this stuff. But we're talking about the farm today. So, as far as the farm goes, we do have two modes that we can harvest in. Number one is a manual mode like this, and this is how we want to do it. we want to collect our shriekers and sculk sensors and all that other stuff, like the sculk veins. We can just pop in here and collect some sculk veins like this. And this will be a fairly simple manual process. However, if it is just the sculk blocks that we're after, we can do a more automatic process by just kind of aiming down a little bit to avoid these sculk sensors that might spawn in front of us and keeping our clicker held down and just AFK here. And that'll be easy enough. But you know what? I think we're going to make this our on-off switch for the stone generator. It turns off the Enderman spawning as well, because that gets annoying. That gets real annoying. So we're just going to take the signal from that and run it up a torch tower all the way up to the top and put some redstone lamps up there that we can turn on and off. Easy enough. And that should do it. So, all our redstone lamps should be active at this point, which means once we remove these torches that I put up here to have a little bit of peace and quiet, we should have no more Endermen spawning on this platform, because we should get roughly the same amount of light coverage from these lamps that these torches gave us, which means I can get some peace and quiet downstairs. So I think we're just about done doing what we're going to be doing with the farm for today. However, we are going to come back here in the near future to actually build this place up aesthetically, which means I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of preparation for that. I'm going to firstly remove this bridge right here and kind of separate this from the main end island, and then we might do a little bit of resource gathering, so that way future me is more prepared for the coming project. I will say, though, that it's times like these when I miss all our beacons in Wolfinia, our jump boost, our haste. You know, when you go without for a little while, you start to really appreciate these things. Now, as far as the resources we're going to want to gather for our future build at the Sculk farm, we're going to want some of these end blocks right here. And I guess we got plenty here on the main island, and we will eventually do something with this island, but I don't know what that is yet. So instead, we're going to make our way out here to the middle of nowhere and collect some of these blocks here. Owie, hello. And also, surprise, surprise, we're going to want some Sculk. So at this point, we're ready to let the resource gathering begin. Let's go ahead and call the drone on out here, put on a little bit of music, and get to work. I forgot you can't insta-mine this stuff. This is going to be a pain in the butt. Welcome back, everybody. So, at this point, I did a little bit of actual farming here in our farm, and overall, I gotta say, I think it went pretty well. We did get a pretty decent amount of Sculk and Sculk-related items. I will say, though, that this is not the type of farm that we can really for real AFK at. Is it raining in the void? I didn't see that in the forecast. Because we do have to keep an eye on our tools, because it does wear out our tools, so I did have to make a trip over here to our Enderman XP farm to mend up my gear because our tools were getting a little bit worn down. And I think while we're out here, I'm going to go ahead and mend up my pickaxes and all that mess as well before we head back to Wolfinia. Okay, I took some time to get cleaned up here and kind of get some stuff organized, and I do think we're ready to go for when we come back here eventually. But for now, we got some business to tend to back at Wolfins Labs. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to put another thing on our to-do list. Eventually, at the House of Leaves, we're going to need a glow lichen farm. Because this process I'm using now to get my glow lichen, this ain't going to work in the long term. You know what I should have done in this episode? I should have built a glow lichen farm in this episode. That's what I should have done. But now that that's taken care of, we can go ahead and get back to the main point of this episode. Wolfins Labs and unearthing the corruption therein or underneath. You can also see Wolfins Labs is slated for a roof renovation. We will take care of that as well. And we might also do a little bit of work to the grounds here as we're unearthing the corruption beneath the grounds. So there's a fair amount of stuff that we need to get taken care of. Probably in our best interest to go ahead and get to it. At this point, let's go ahead and call the drone on over here, put on a little bit of music, and get to work. Welcome back, everybody. At this point, we do have Wolfins Laboratories updated, and I gotta say, I am liking it. You know what? Let's go ahead and have a peek at it by taking the official route up to it so we can see it how it's meant to be seen. Let me, hopefully this still works. I got the storage system running, so everything's like super laggy right now. It seems fine. It seems fine. You know, there's excuses. It closes, right? Yeah, it closes behind us. Okay. Let's go ahead and make our way out to Wolfins Laboratory, and it looks grander than it ever has. The corruption is much more apparent. Mr. Wolfins is going to be so upset when he hears about what's lurking beneath the grounds of Wolfins Laboratory here. I mean, it looks cool. It looks cool, but it's also disgusting and not supposed to be there, so there's that. And as you can see, it does kind of go all around the main Wolfins Laboratory building, with the exception of some underground areas, which thankfully it did not seep into from the roof, or at least it hasn't yet. But you know what? We'll have to investigate at some point in the future, because I know that I have a strong suspicion that the corruption extends to the quarantine district as well. Probably a likely reason why it's quarantined. You know what? This looks unsafe. I'm going to take that out. So yeah. You know, apparently I forgot to pave this little area in the back here. I already put my stuff away, so you know what? That's fine. I'll do it later. I gotta say, though, overall, I am definitely liking the new look of Wolfins Labs. Hopefully Mr. Wolfins appreciates it as well. It is definitely more his aesthetic now. Have a peek at it from the back here. I know you guys saw this during the time lapse, but you didn't see it with me. I did have to rework this side right here a little bit because it was off. But now I think it works a little bit better, and overall, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with everything we did today. We did manage to do a good amount of stuff today.
Enchantress Arcana! This is Infiltration Master Moraga. Come in. Over. Psst.
Oh, for Luna's sake. Moraga, you do not need to make those sounds.
Psst. Is that it? You didn't say over. You also didn't say psst. Over. Psst.
What do you need, Moraga?
Psst. You know how the dummy's a dummy, right? Over. Psst.
What did he do now, Moraga?
Psst. Something really, really dumb. Over. Psst.
How dumb?
Psst. Like really super dumb. Honestly, I think we should make sure the pup is ready. We're gonna have to make our moves soon. Moraga out. Psst.
Well, that, I think, is going to have to do it for us here today, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you did, please be sure to hit that little thumbs up button. That would mean a whole lot to me. And if you want to see more of Wolfinia, please remember to subscribe. But as always, I just want to thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I deeply appreciate it. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed your stay here in Wolfinia. I will see you guys later.